Hi, welcome to Conversation with Gen Z. I am your host, Nanette Brown, and today I have a very, very special guest. You are going to absolutely love this young woman. Her name is Genna. Now, I've known Genna for many, many years. I actually met you when you're in elementary school, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was my last year of elementary school.
Yeah, so probably around 6th grade. And I've seen Genna grow into a phenomenal person of character. And I knew I wanted to have her on this show to have a conversation. All right, so Genna, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, your age, and what you're doing in life right now?
Yeah, so I'm 20 years old right now. This past year was my freshman year at Westmont College in Santa Barbara. I'm at the moment a music education major, and I've been home for the past few months serving as a summer intern at my church.
Okay, very nice. Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood and what that looked like for you?
Yeah, so let's see. I went to public school for about 6 years, from kindergarten through 5th grade. And then I was homeschooled up through middle school and the rest of high school. But yeah, I have 3 brothers, 1 older, 2 younger, and I'm really close with my family, and I think I always have been pretty close with my family.
Do you have a mother and father in the home? Mm-hmm. Are your parents together? Are they divorced?
Yes, my mom and dad are married, and they've been, just really great examples to me throughout the course of my life. You know, it's been cool to watch them, like, kind of struggle with certain things and struggle with faith, and then, like, come back to faith, too.
Right,
That's been a really cool example to watch, and yeah, so.
Okay, very good. So let me ask you this. Can you think of a time where maybe your parents, either your mom or dad or both, told you no, and that no ended up being, maybe you weren't happy about that no, but that no ended up being a really good thing for you or a best thing for you?
Yeah, let's see. There's definitely been a few instances of that throughout my life. I think, like, they haven't actually said no to me super often, but they have said, like, if you make this decision, you have to be okay with this.
Oh, okay.
And so that's been, like, so I play violin, and I have for a long time, and I wanted to quit a lot when I was younger because it's a hard instrument, and I didn't like that I wasn't naturally good at it. And so, but they said to me, you can quit, but you have to be the one to tell your teacher that you're quitting, and I couldn't do that.
Wow.
So I continued playing, and I'm really glad I continued playing because I love it now, and it's something that helped me, like, afford to go to school. So and I was, like, a teacher for several years, so anyway, so I appreciate that.
How old were you, by the way, when you wanted to quit? Or what was the age? What age were you at that time, would you say?
Yeah, so I started when I was about 5.5, 6, and then I would say about, like, a year into it, I was kind of disenchanted and just, like, ready to be done.
Yeah.
But yeah, they, like, kept encouraging me to do it, and then eventually I was like, I really want to quit, but I was scared of my teacher, so I didn't.
So did you say that not only are you good at it, you said it helped you to go to college, so did you get scholarships because of it?
Yeah, I did.
And then you taught it as well?
Yeah, so it was one of those things that's like, if I had quit it, I think my life would have been very different. Like, wow. And it's something, like, I really enjoy, and I get to play in church regularly, and I feel like it's helped me make, like, friends and connections, and, like, I went to Europe with my orchestra when I was in high school, and that was a really cool experience, but I wouldn't have had any of that if I hadn't, like, continued with violin.
And this is all playing the violin?
Yeah. So it's funny, but I really appreciate them, like, I think it taught me that, like, most things in life you don't necessarily want to keep up with.
Yeah.
Like, even fun things can become kind of like, oh, I don't want to do this. Yeah. But if you keep up with it and continue it, you know,
Wow, that's a really good example. Even though, like you said, your parents didn't say no, they kind of put it back in your hands for you to have to deal with the consequences of it, and it was just too much for you.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, fine, I'll just stick with it. That's actually great wisdom on your parents' part, isn't it?
Yeah. For most things in my life, that's kind of how
they
been.
parent you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful. I love that. I want to ask you about your generation. This is Conversations with Gen Z. What would you say the biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenges your generation faces, that you can see from your vantage point?
Yeah. If I'm honest, I think there's a lot, because something I've noticed in myself and in my friends is there's just like so much happening all the time. And I think part of that is maybe because of the onset of social media and just like the overload of information. But even being at college, it's really interesting how fast things move and how much information there is. And it sometimes like I realize why maybe social media is like so prevalent is it's like if you're so burned out and tired, kind of all you want to do is what's easy. Yeah. So for me, I notice when I do social media, it's because I'm burnt out and and like if I'm just scrolling mindlessly.
Right.
So it's been interesting to me to see like how much information there is all the time. And so I think one of our biggest challenges that we're going to have to face is like living intentionally and redeeming the time. I think that's a really difficult thing. And I know for me, it's a struggle too.
Right.
And I see it a lot with my friends where it's like really easy to like, you're working hard, and then you just check out.
Right.
And you know, it's understandable, but like, where do we find rest, or how do we be more intentional with the time we have? I think that's a big challenge.
Okay. So the challenge that your generation is facing is extreme busyness. And then in order to find rest, a lot of times, and I don't even think it's just your generation. It's just, we do the easy thing, which we always have our phones on us. Pick up our phone and start scrolling mindlessly.
Yeah.
And do you feel like the scrolling can be damaging? Do you feel like it's innocent? What are your thoughts on that? Are there effects? Are there consequences? Yeah,
I mean, I've definitely I was a little more extreme about it in high school, where I was like, social media is evil, and like just and I think where I've come to now is like, I definitely think it's designed to be addicting.
Oh yeah.
So it's something to be very mindful of. I do think there is also a lot of like good that can come out of using social media. There's a lot of like people you can reach, and I think a lot of interconnectedness, which has been cool being away at school, like being able to keep in contact with my friends, but it's also like kind of a dangerous place. So I think mindlessly scrolling, I do think that's very bad for you. I think it's like harming your attention span and just kind of rigging your dopamine systems, but so I think it's just being intentional with it is the big thing.
Got it. So you kind of have to have a plan maybe beforehand.
Yeah.
Like, I'm only going to be on this for 20 minutes or 30 minutes max, and I'm not going to do it all day. You know, it's kind of coming up with some, you know, how am I going to utilize this?
Right.
So that you are redeeming your time, that you're not wasting your day and going, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been on it for like 2 hours.
Right. Yeah. Like you're making a conscious decision, and it's more like a tool in a sense, rather than you're being used by it and controlled by it.
So what is your plan? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think it's definitely been like really up and down, especially being back from school. Like my second semester of school, like a month in, I just got rid of Instagram, which is that's basically the only social media I have, but I just got rid of it for the rest of the semester. And because I just genuinely didn't have time. And I was like, I really don't have time to spend on this. I feel like it's making me way more homesick, and I just kind of need to be focused here. And I felt like I didn't really even miss it, which was strange.
Okay.
And then I came back, and I think what's hard is like when you have extra time, it's hard to like for me, I've been spending more time on it because I'm not as busy as I was.
Oh, interesting. So how long did you have it off of your phone? The whole semester?
Basically, like 4 months.
Okay, wow, that's awesome. And then you felt fine.
Yeah, I was like...
Did you feel better or worse or just the same?
I felt like... I think I felt mostly better. Like, I didn't really miss it, but I think it was also an understanding of, like, I don't need this right now.
Right. There was a reason why you took it off your phone, so that kind of kept you focused.
Right, yeah. So, and then I've been trying to figure out my relationship to it, because, like, I enjoy Instagram, but I also know that I, like, sometimes can spend a long time on it when it's like, I really have important things I need to be doing and stay on top of, and so... Yeah, I definitely haven't figured it out.
Yeah, we're all kind of trying to navigate it.
Yeah.
But what it sounds like to me is you're like, I want to be in control of this. I don't want this to be in control of me.
Yeah.
You have to have a plan or it's just going to take up more of your time and end up even maybe controlling you, you know? So, yeah, that's good. So I have one last question for you. As you know, my channel is called Raising Kids to Be Leaders, after the book I've written. What advice would you give to parents, caretakers, youth workers, who their heart is to raise kids, equip kids to be leaders? What advice would you give them?
I think, like, the adults that I've seen who are willing to enter into conversations with people who are, like, questioning maybe things to them that seem apparent or like obvious. I really appreciate adults who do that because I think they understand a little bit more of what it's like to be Gen Z, because it's like sometimes it feels like you're a little bit baseless, like there's no foundation, and I think people are just trying to figure out like what is this,
Right.
what is truth, like what are these things.
One of the things I've learned as an educator is that questions are so powerful, that people learn more from questions than from lectures.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is once you begin to ask people questions and they have to think about the answer, their minds and their hearts are open. And so when maybe somebody then begins to share their perspective, people are more apt to listen than when we just go in and just start lecturing or teaching or educating. When you start with questions and listen, and then your listening can kind of guide your questions, everybody, it's like a give and take, and people are more apt to receive and to learn from that conversation than if they're just spoken at.
My mom was really good at asking questions and talking, and so for me, I found that really helpful. I think finding ways to help kids become leaders, and specifically through things like serving, because I think serving, learning how to serve well, is probably more important than leadership, because I think it kind of flows out of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So finding ways to help kids help, and just emphasizing to them like, hey, whatever you do, like even if it's something super small, like you're doing it for God, you're doing this with love, you're doing this, you know. I think that's something that's been really helpful for me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I actually think that's very powerful. I think sometimes, especially in the church, we can raise all these consumers. They're always consuming and taking, and we have this for you and this for you and this for you. And then what's happening, it's just they're full and fat and they're not giving. But when we set up situations where they can give, where they can serve, where they can love, they're getting to live out their faith. They're getting to walk it out. So I think that is actually wonderful advice. And that's why I actually love doing this, because we're having a conversation. I'm getting to hear your perspective. And I've learned so much from talking to all the different young people I've been talking to. Thank you again for this time and our conversation. I had a great time with you.
Thank you, me too. Yeah.
All right, so we will see you in the next one. If you like what you saw, please subscribe, click the like button, and comment below. Thanks. Bye.